Shalom. We are in Torah portion, I think 34, Naso, which is similar to the word Nasa, which is quite interestingly the word that is also the word Nasa. It means to lift up. So it's even in a secular level the same meaning. Naso is about lifting up the heads. So in English it's translated as counting the people, but lifting up the head is more to do with appointing and anointing someone to do a specific task. Now the book of Numbers, or Bamidbar, is about setting up the priesthood. That's one part of it. The other part is giving more detail of the tasks of the priesthood. Now, in the previous book of Leviticus, we saw that the kingdom of priests that was announced in Exodus, they are also the woman or the bride who becomes pregnant. And Shavuot is all about the marriage, the conception, receiving of the seed, which is the cloud, and the word spoken, which is the wedding night. And then it's about the pregnant woman, which is the wheat belly, where there's going to be a harvest. And the harvest is about the nations or the sea, and we saw with the palaces camping around the mountain. And in the symbolism of the previous Torah portion, it's described as lilies around the wheat belly of the pregnant woman who's not taking any alcohol. Now half of the bride is taking alcohol, and she is the one who is defiling herself. Yeshua described her in Matthew 25 as the 5 foolish virgins. 5 is grace, so out of grace he called them out of Egypt. He brought them to the mountain. He engaged in a covenant with them, which is the marriage covenant. And one half is wise and the other half is foolish. It just depicts not the number of the people that's wise and foolish, but people of grace. And they consist of 2 camps, the wise and the foolish. Now in this Torah portion, there's a little section about a woman committing adultery and a ritual that's been done by the priesthood to make the belly of the woman swell up and her thighs drop or something like that, and if she's guilty. And if she's not guilty, she will conceive and have children. So that is basically a flow on from last week's revelation on the pregnant woman, which is now in covenant with Yahweh. And this one explains the consequences for the 5 or the foolish part of the bride, or the foolish part of the body of Mashiach, and what the consequences of that is. So we're going to look a bit more in detail into what that means. Very fascinating to see the storyline continuing. On top of that, we are also going to look at the priesthood, the roles of the Levites specifically, and specifically the Levites that are related to Aaron, because they are the priesthood, and the rest of the Levites are just from the tribe of Levi. So not all Levites are priests, and there are 4 specific camps within the Levites who's got 4 different types of tasks that's in relation of setting up, breaking down and transporting the tabernacle. And we're going to look at each one of those 4 types and how they apply to the priesthood, and what does that mean for us in the body of Messiah in the assembly. Then we're also going to look at the Aaronic blessing and decipher that and analyze that. So I've already done that. I'm not going to share what I found. It's a bit complex, but there's still a few things that's been confirmed in doing that on what we discovered last week, a few of the numbers and things. Very interesting little part of the study. And then on top of that, we're going to look at Numbers 8, which is a verse about Aaron lighting the menorah and the 7 lights shining. Now that verse is in the same pattern of the Aaronic blessing, and that verse reveals all the tasks of the priesthood in a deeper level. So I've already done that, and I will share that this Sabbath coming. Very interesting book. I was not expecting this. Just looking at a few things and finding a few gems around along the way. But what it seems like is that our storyline is now shifting gears from a pregnant lady, the mother having children, looking after the children, changing another layer on top of that, revealing them as the priesthood again, as was the case with the book of Shemot or Exodus. And on top of that, it gets the flavor of warfare, an army, getting the army ready, training the army. And that's what the wilderness experience is all about. Now, if you think about Bamidbar, it's derived from the word dabar, that means words. So we realized when we studied Pesach, it's the release of speech to change you from an animal who can't speak into a human being who have speech. And the speech is located in the throat, and the throat is located in the neck. And the neck is the symbol of the tabernacle that connects the head to the body. And we know that Mashiach is the head. We are the body. So who represents the neck? Now, in this book of Devarim or Numbers, we discover it's the priesthood who represent the neck. And they are the ones who are elevated from the body to have specific functions. And we're going to look at those functions. And everything in regards to the priesthood is in relation to the tabernacle that facilitate the connections between the head and the body. The head also represents the spiritual, the body represents the physical, and the priesthood are those who have the gifts of the Spirit. They are appointed and anointed. Their heads have been lifted, and they have specific tasks and functions in order to make those connections and to bring the information from spiritual into this physical regarding visions, prophecies, word of wisdom, and so forth. Everything that we know about the gifts of the Spirit that Paul revealed, he found in this Torah portion. When you look at the Gematria and the meanings underneath, specifically the verse in Numbers 8 that reveals the lighting of the menorah and the 7 lights of the menorah. Very, very fascinating verse. Just looking at the Aaronic blessing, and that verse reveals so much about the function of the neck, the function of the priesthood. And as we continue in the study, we're also going to discover the first enemy. So we know that the enemy is within, but there's an external enemy that will stick out his head, and it's connected to a hole. His hiding place is a hole. So we're going to look at that as well. I'm not going to reveal that now. So much to looking forward to in this upcoming Torah portion, and I can't wait to share all the detail with you. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll speak to you soon. Shalom.